What if the most powerful man in the city, a man who thought he had everything, was suddenly stopped by the smallest voice he had ever heard? Imagine a millionaire CEO, seated in a gleaming boardroom, about to close a $12 million deal, when a little girl drenched in rain whispered, "Can I have lunch with you, sir?" In her trembling hand, she held a worn photograph of him and the woman he once loved but abandoned years ago. That single moment shattered the walls he had built around his heart and forced him to face a truth he never expected, a daughter he never knew. This is not just a story about money, power, or success. It's about second chances, forgiveness, and the kind of love that can rewrite a life. Stay with us, and don't forget to subscribe to The Retold Stories for more unforgettable journeys of the heart. The rain poured down like endless silver threads weaving across the Denver skyline, wrapping the glass towers in a curtain of blurred light. Inside the highest floor of the Carter Lux Hotel, the air was still and sharp. Nathan Carter sat at the head of a polished boardroom table, the kind of man who seemed carved out of marble and ambition. His navy suit was flawless, his watch gleamed, and every movement he made radiated precision. Moments earlier, he had signed a contract worth $12 million, another trophy on a shelf already full of victories. He believed he was untouchable, above the storms outside. Until a small interruption cracked that illusion. The knock at the door was hesitant, almost too soft to be noticed in a room full of executives. His assistant stepped in, pale and unsure, clutching a note in trembling hands. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice tight. "There is a child downstairs. She says she needs to see you." Nathan did not even lift his eyes at first. Security handled distractions like this. But then the assistant added, "She asked for you by name. She said her name is Lily Collins, and she has a photograph." Something in those words hit like a jolt, a name from a past he had buried. Ava. The air shifted. Nathan's hand froze above his pen. He had not heard that name spoken aloud in years. He rose abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor, the eyes of his executives trailing him with silent confusion. "Cancel the rest of my meetings," he ordered. His assistant tried to protest about an upcoming call with Tokyo, but he cut her short. Cancel it all. The mask of control remained on his face, but inside him, unease grew like a storm. He descended the elevator, each floor passing in a blur. By the time the doors slid open to the lobby, his heartbeat had grown heavy in his chest. And then, he saw her. A little girl stood near the revolving glass doors, drenched from head to toe. Her blonde hair clung in wet curls, her sweater sagged from the weight of rain, and her small sneakers left faint prints on the marble floor. She seemed impossibly small against the grandeur of the hotel. But her eyes, wide and hazel, pierced directly into him. They were not just eyes, they were mirrors of his own. She clutched a plastic bag against her chest and took a hesitant step forward. "Are you Nathan Carter?" she asked. Her voice was soft, steady, but fragile, like a strand of thread. He managed a single nod. She opened the bag and pulled out a photograph, its edges frayed with time. Nathan felt his breath catch as he recognized it instantly. It was him and Ava, captured in a moment of laughter at a holiday party years ago. He remembered the way her hand rested on his chest, the way her smile seemed to light up everything around her. For years, he had forced that memory into the shadows. Now, it stared back at him through the trembling hands of this child. "My mom always kept this," the girl said. "She passed away last month. She told me if anything ever happened, I should find you." The words settled over him like lead. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Where have you been staying?" he asked quietly. She shifted her backpack and said, "With a foster lady, but she yells a lot. I did not like it, so I left. I took a bus." Her voice was matter of fact, but her eyes shimmered with loneliness. Then she said it, the words that unraveled everything he thought he knew. "I think you are my dad." The world seemed to tilt. He felt the weight of the polished hotel floor disappear beneath him. He wanted to deny it, to say it was impossible. But those eyes anchored him in place. He saw himself in her gaze, a reflection of something he had never dared to imagine. She hesitated, then added softly, "I have not eaten yet. Could we maybe have lunch?" Nathan blinked, and without fully understanding why, he said yes. He reached out his hand. For a moment she hesitated. Then her small, cold fingers slipped into his. Together they walked to the elevator, the contrast between his tailored suit and her damp backpack almost surreal. No one spoke as the lift carried them upward. By the time they stepped into the restaurant on the 40th floor, the maitre d' raised an eyebrow but quickly lowered it, too wise to question the CEO. Nathan guided her to a booth, overlooking the gray city below. She slid onto the leather seat, her legs dangling above the floor. "Do you like scallops?" he asked awkwardly, flipping through the menu. She tilted her head, clearly unsure. "What about grilled cheese?" Her face brightened, and she nodded eagerly. He ordered for her, then sat back, watching as she swung her legs beneath the table. "How old are you?" he asked. "5, she said proudly. "Almost 6 in April." Her words stung. He had missed every year of her life. She told him quietly that her mother had said he was busy, always building something important, but that he once made her heart feel light. Nathan turned his gaze away, the memory of Ava's smile pressing hard against the walls of his chest. The grilled cheese arrived. Lily devoured it as though it were the best meal she had ever tasted. Crumbs clung to her cheeks, and she grinned through every bite. Nathan watched her in silence, his world shifting in ways he could not yet understand. For years, his life had been defined by contracts, deadlines, and numbers on screens. Now, across from him sat a child who looked at him not with fear or awe, but with belief, a belief that perhaps he could be more than what he had allowed himself to become. After lunch, he brought her upstairs to his penthouse, a place that usually felt like a sanctuary of solitude. She wandered through the grand space with wide eyes, touching the velvet couches, staring at the city through towering windows. Yet she moved with a cautious politeness, like a guest afraid of overstaying. When she pointed at the bed and asked if she could sleep there, he nodded. "For tonight," he said gently. She pulled a worn stuffed bunny from her bag, curled beneath the covers, and whispered, "Thank you for lunch, Mr. Carter." He stood in the doorway, watching her drift to sleep, and for the first time in years, his immaculate world felt fragile. Later, as he searched through her backpack for an emergency contact, he found something unexpected. Between a coloring book and broken crayons lay an envelope, his name written in Ava's looping handwriting. He did not open it, not yet. Instead, he sat on the edge of the sofa, the envelope heavy in his hands, the sound of rain still whispering against the glass. He loosened his tie, unbuttoned his collar, and realized with a sudden chilling clarity that his life had just changed forever. He was no longer Nathan Carter, the man who had everything. He was a man who might have missed the only thing that ever truly mattered. The morning light seeped through the curtains of the penthouse, pale and uncertain, casting long shadows across the marble floor. Nathan sat at the breakfast table, a cup of coffee, untouched in front of him, his eyes fixed on the unopened letter from Ava. He had not slept. The envelope sat like a ghost between them, daring him to break the seal, but he could not yet bring himself to do it. He feared the truth it carried, and the weight it might lay across his already burdened heart. From the bedroom came the soft sound of little feet shuffling against the carpet. Lily appeared in the doorway, dragging her pink backpack behind her, drowning in an oversized hotel robe that swallowed her small frame. She climbed into a chair opposite him, swinging her legs and studying the room as if trying to memorize every detail. "Is this where rich people live all the time?" she asked, tilting her head. Nathan blinked, caught off guard. "Sometimes," he said. She wrinkled her nose and replied, "It is too quiet, like a museum." For the first time in years, a laugh nearly escaped him. She was right. His life had been quiet, orderly, and utterly lifeless until she walked in. Awkwardly, he offered breakfast, fumbling over the menu when she asked for pancakes. The way his voice stumbled over such a simple request made him realize how far removed he was from the ordinary world of children. Yet when the pancakes arrived, golden and warm with whipped cream piled high, Lily's face lit up as if the sun had risen just for her. Watching her smile stirred something in him that was both painful and beautiful. As the days passed, she filled the sterile space of his penthouse with life. Crayon drawings appeared on his coffee table. A stuffed bunny rested on his leather couch. She asked questions about the world, questions he could answer with confidence in boardrooms, but suddenly struggled to explain to a child. One evening, after she fell asleep clutching her bunny, Nathan opened the letter. Ava's handwriting curved across the page, like a voice reaching from the past. She confessed she had never told him about the pregnancy, because he once said family was a distraction, that love was weakness. She had not wanted to beg him to stay. Yet in Lily, she found hope, a light she believed could someday guide him home. If he was holding her hand now, Ava pleaded, he must never let go. Tears blurred his vision as he folded the letter, pressing it to his chest. For years he had believed success meant solitude. Now he saw that the very empire he built had cost him the one person who had truly mattered, and the child he had never known. He vowed then that he would not walk away again. But fate does not grant redemption without resistance. The next day, his lawyer Carla arrived with papers for a DNA test and documents to request temporary guardianship. Nathan did not hesitate. He wanted proof, not for himself, but for the world that was bound to question him. Yet even as the nurse gently swabbed Lily's cheek, Nathan knew what the results would say. When the test confirmed she was his daughter, he felt both relief and grief wash over him. Relief that she truly was his, grief that he had lost 5 irreplaceable years. News traveled faster than he expected. A blurry photograph of him walking into the hotel with Lily splashed across online tabloids. Millionaire CEO hiding secret daughter. The headline struck him with a fury he could not disguise. He wanted to protect her from the noise, from the cruel speculation of strangers who knew nothing of their story. He told her gently, "People may say things about us, but none of it matters. You are safe." She looked at him with steady eyes and whispered, "Because I have you." It was not a question. It was faith. Faith he was determined to live up to. But Naomi Pierce, Ava's estranged sister, entered the picture like a storm. With a polished lawyer at her side, she filed for custody, claiming Ava had left a notarized will naming her guardian. Nathan's blood boiled at the audacity. Naomi had not even attended Ava's funeral, yet now she sought to claim the child she had, never cared for. Carla examined the document and suspected fraud, but in court, suspicion was not enough. Nathan knew he needed more than denials. He needed the truth. Late one evening, he drove to Ava's old neighborhood, searching for pieces of her life he had ignored. The streets were nothing like the shining avenues he ruled. Here the air smelled of bread and fallen leaves, the buildings leaning tired but alive. He found a small bakery where Ava's friend Jude worked. The man's hands were dusted with flour, his eyes lined with grief. When Nathan introduced himself, Jude regarded him with a mixture of recognition and quiet judgment. "She talked about you," Jude said. "She never hated you. She just tried to love you less." Nathan swallowed hard, shame tightening in his chest. When he mentioned Naomi's claim, Jude's jaw clenched. "Ava feared this. She asked me to keep something safe." From a tin box, Jude handed him a flash drive and a notarized statement. The note inside was unmistakably Ava's. She declared that Naomi should never raise Lily, that her only wish was for Lily to be with someone who chose her out of love, not obligation. On the flash drive, Ava's recorded message appeared, her voice trembling but clear. She named Nathan as Lily's father, admitted he never knew, and begged the court not to let Naomi interfere. Watching her speak from beyond the grave broke him open. She still believed in him, even after everything. Armed with the letter, the video, and the guardianship statement, Nathan returned to court. As Naomi's lawyer waived her supposed will, Carla presented Ava's video. The judge watched in silence as Ava's face filled the screen, her words raw and undeniable. And then came Lily's testimony, small and unpolished but sharper than any legal argument. "I did not come to find a rich man," she said. "I came to find my dad." The gallery hushed. Even the judge's eyes softened. In that moment, Nathan realized the truth could not be manufactured or destroyed. It lived in the innocence of a child's words and the legacy of a mother's love. The decision would not come that day, but the tide had turned. Nathan felt it. The fight was not over, but for the first time, he believed he could win not for himself, but for the little girl who had chosen him without hesitation. The courtroom was heavy with silence, the kind that pressed against the walls and made every sound echo. Nathan sat at the long wooden table beside Carla, his back straight but his heart restless. Across from him, Naomi Pierce adjusted her silk scarf and folded her hands over an oversized purse, her smile practiced, her posture rigid. She looked like someone rehearsing for a performance, and in a way, that was exactly what this was. She was here to claim custody of Lily, not out of love, but out of calculation. Nathan could feel it in his bones. When the judge asked if he understood the nature of the hearing, Nathan replied firmly, "I do, Your Honor." His voice was steady, but beneath the surface, his pulse hammered. He stood when called, speaking not as the CEO who once dazzled investors, but as a father who had learned humility. When Ava and I were together, I was a different man. I thought love was a distraction. I believed building an empire mattered more than building a life. So I left, and I did not know she was carrying my child. But when Lily walked into my office a week ago with nothing but a photograph, she taught me more about love and strength in 7 days than I learned in years of boardrooms. His words lingered, filling the courtroom with an honesty he could not hide. For a moment, there was stillness, as if even the judge had forgotten to take notes. But Naomi's attorney rose with cold precision, producing a document she claimed was Ava's will, naming Naomi as Lily's guardian. Nathan's blood ran cold. The signature looked wrong, the timing suspicious, yet the judge accepted it for review. Anger surged through him, but he held it back. He knew Ava better than anyone. She would never have entrusted Lily to Naomi, not when she feared her sister's instability. The hearing adjourned for the day, but Nathan left with resolve burning in his chest. He would not let Naomi win. That night, he and Carla pored over evidence, digging deeper into Naomi's past. Her debts, her fraud cases, her opportunistic fundraisers, all painted a picture of someone unfit to care for a child. But evidence was not enough. He needed Ava's voice to cut through the lies. He had that voice, recorded on the flash drive Jude had given him. Watching her again in that video, frail but fierce, Nathan felt the weight of her trust. She had believed he could do what was right, even when she could not. He swore he would honor that. When the trial resumed, the judge allowed the recording to be played. The lights dimmed slightly, and Ava's face filled the screen. Her eyes were tired, her voice fragile but unwavering. She spoke of Nathan, admitting he never knew about Lily, and declaring that Naomi was unfit. She pleaded that her daughter be raised by someone who chose her, not for wealth or reputation, but for love. Her words fell like hammers on the walls Naomi had tried to build. Even the gallery shifted uneasily, murmurs breaking the stillness. Then came Lily's turn. She was so small in the witness chair, her stuffed bunny clutched tightly in her lap. The judge leaned forward gently and asked if she knew why she was there. Lily nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "So people can decide where I should live." The judge asked where she wanted to live, and Lily's eyes moved from the bench to Nathan. "I did not come to find a rich man," she said softly. "I came to find my dad." The words struck like lightning. The gallery gasped, and even Naomi shifted uncomfortably. The judge lowered her pen, her expression unreadable, but something had changed. Nathan's eyes stung with tears. He refused to shed in front of the court. It was not legal arguments that mattered now. It was truth spoken through a child's unshakable faith. In the days that followed, paperwork and testimonies continued, but the tide had turned. Ava's video, her letter, and Lily's words formed a chain that Naomi could not break. Finally, the judge rendered her decision. In light of the verified video testimony, the notarized documents, and the statements presented, I grant full custody of Lily Collins to Nathan Carter. Furthermore, Miss Naomi Pierce is to have no contact with the minor without future court approval. Relief swept through Nathan like a flood. He closed his eyes, exhaling as though he had been holding his breath for years. When the gavel struck, Lily ran to him, arms flung wide. He lifted her into his embrace, burying his face in her golden curls, whispering that she was safe, that she was home. For the first time in his life, he was not thinking about power or legacy. He was thinking only of her. In the months that followed, Nathan changed more than he ever thought possible. He stepped down as CEO, handing the company to Carla, who had stood by him not only as a lawyer, but as a friend. "You kept this place alive for years," he told her. "You can take it further than I ever could." And with that, he closed the chapter on the life he had once thought defined him. Now, his days were marked not by board meetings, but by pancakes, drawings taped to the refrigerator, and bedtime stories read under the glow of a nightlight shaped like a moon. Lily's laughter filled the spaces that had once been silent. She transformed his world of steel and glass into a home filled with color and warmth. Every small moment a whispered goodnight, a crayon picture of a house with a heart reminded him that he had been given a second chance. 1 year later, in the same grand ballroom where their journey began, Nathan stood, watching as Lily moved gracefully among children at a charity event. The Ava Collins Foundation had been created in her mother's honor, dedicated to ensuring every child would know they were chosen. Lily wore a pale yellow dress and carried cupcakes to each table, her smile brighter than the chandeliers above. On a stage nearby hung a photograph of Ava, her laughter frozen in time, her presence still felt. At a small table near the window, Nathan and Lily sat down together. He slid a navy folder toward her. Inside were adoption papers. "Lily Collins," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Do you want to become Lily Carter?" She blinked, wide-eyed, then nodded fiercely. "Yes." "For real?" He nodded. "For real." They signed together, her small hand gripping the pen with determination. When she finished, she grabbed his hand across the table and declared, "This is the best lunch ever." Nathan smiled, tears welling. It had always been meant to be. As the evening faded, Lily leaned against him and whispered, "Do you think Mom saw today?" Nathan looked up at the sky, beyond the hotel windows, painted in strokes of orange and pink. "I think," he said softly, "she never stopped watching." And for the first time, Nathan Carter felt whole. There are stories that remind us of ambition, of power, of success, measured in numbers. And then there are stories like this one, where a single question asked by a child cuts through all of it and reveals what truly matters. "Can I have lunch with you, sir?" Those words, spoken by a little girl drenched in rain, turned the world of a powerful man upside down. Nathan Carter believed he had everything. He believed he was in control. Yet in truth, he had been living in emptiness, mistaking silence for peace and wealth for meaning. Lily's arrival was not just a twist of fate. It was a second chance, delivered by the memory of a woman he once loved and lost. Ava's voice lingered through her letters and her video, reminding him and reminding all of us that love is not weakness, that family is not a distraction, and that time, once gone, can never be reclaimed. But time given a second chance can still transform everything. What makes this story powerful is not the courtroom battle, the legal victories, or even the headlines that tried to twist it into scandal. What makes it unforgettable is the way a child's trust shattered the armor of a man who thought he was beyond redemption. Lily did not come looking for a millionaire. She did not care about hotels, or contracts, or legacy. She came searching for a father, and when she found him, she gave him the courage to become one. We often hear about people who are too late to apologize, too late to change, too late to love. Nathan Carter's journey reminds us that while we cannot rewrite the past, we can choose differently in the present. We can step out of the walls we built around ourselves and decide that someone else's laughter, someone else's well-being, someone else's life matters more than our own pride. That is the miracle of second chances. They do not erase what came before, but they give us the strength to create something new. When Nathan asked Lily if she wanted to officially become his daughter, and she answered yes with a smile brighter than the chandeliers above, it was more than adoption papers. It was a promise sealed not by law, but by love. A story that began with grilled cheese and pancakes, ended with a family rebuilt, and with a future Ava had always hoped her daughter would have. And so we ask you, do you believe in second chances? Do you believe that no mistake is too great to be forgiven, that no heart is too closed to be opened? If Nathan and Lily's story touched you, if it reminded you of someone you love or someone you need to forgive, hold on to that feeling. Share it. Because stories like this are not meant to be kept. They are meant to inspire. Thank you for watching. And if you want more stories that heal, that challenge, that remind us of what matters most, make sure you subscribe to the Retold Stories. Together, let us keep telling stories that change lives.